Qobuz, Apple Music, or Tidal? Which one of these music streaming services is the best? I'm going to be comparing the three after using all of them for past couple of months now and give you my thoughts. Spoiler alert, it is a pretty simple video today. So let's begin. Okay, so first of all, let's start with the most important category, the pricing. Now, all three have monthly and annual plans. I'm going to be comparing the monthly plans, so it's just easier because I think most people use monthly plans. But annual plans are, of course, cheaper in the long run. Now, bear in mind, prices are subject to change and they are correct at the time of filming. Let's start with Apple Music. So Apple Music offers three different plans. They have the individual plan priced at £10.99 per month. They have the family plan priced at £16.99 per month and includes up to 6 members. And they also have the student plan, which is priced at £5.99 per month. So pretty simple and straightforward. Next we move on to Tidal. Tidal has pretty similar pricing to Apple Music actually, with the individual plan costing at £10.99 per month. Same with the family plan, 6 members as well. And the student plan is actually 50p cheaper, priced at $5.49 a month. So Tidal is actually more cheaper than Apple Music for students. Now, Tidal also offers a DJ extension for an additional £9, which I assume is like a catalog of beats and stuff for DJ mixers. I've never used it myself, but you have that as well. And finally, we come around to Qobuz. Qobuz has two categories of plans. There's the Sublime plan and the Studio plan. Now, the Sublime plan is annual only, while the Studio plan has 4 different plans offers. So you have the individual plan, which costs at £12.99 per month, so £2 more expensive than Tidal and Apple Music. You have the Duo plan, which costs at £14.99. I guess that's for you and your spouse. You have the family plan, which is at £17.99, so £1 more expensive than Apple Music and Tidal. And again, up to 6 members of family are allowed. And the student plan, which is at £4.99, so it is actually cheaper by £1 compared to Apple Music. Qobuz is the cheapest for students. Now we move over to the Sublime plan. Now the Sublime plan, the advantage of Sublime plan, or the feature I guess, is it gives you up to 60% of discounts on content purchased from Qobuz. And you might be asking, what content? Well, for those who don't know, Qobuz allows you to purchase your music from their Qobuz store and own it. So if you're one of these people who like to own the digital content that they pay for, well, you can do that with Qobuz, which is great. That's one of the features I love about Qobuz. It allows me to buy my favorite songs and albums and own them, store them in my hard drive or locally on my device. So might be worth considering that plan if you are going to be buying music from Qobuz a lot. Otherwise, I would stick with the studio plans. Now, for the pricing in terms of the Sublime plan, the individual plan costs at £175.99 per year. The Duo plan costs £275.88 per year. And finally, the family plan costs £349.99 per year. Now, of course, the price difference isn't that big between Studio and Sublime if you were to actually pay annually for the Studio plan. Comparing the individual plans, the price difference is like £24. It depends on up to you if you prefer paying for your music streaming service subscriptions monthly or annually. Now, in terms of features, both Apple Music and Tidal have Dolby Atmos support. Both have over 100, well, all three of them have over 100 million songs. But I did find that some songs that I've been able to find on Apple Music, I did not find on Tidal and Qobuz. So Apple Music has clearly more songs than the other two. Qobuz does not have Dolby Atmos. Also keep that in mind. And Apple Music has an equalizer as well, which I love. No need to have a separate EQ installed on your computer. Now, in terms of platform availability, all of them are available across all platforms, with the exception of the Apple Watch for Qobuz and Tidal. Let's talk about user interface and user experience. Number one spot, I would put Apple Music. It just has the best UI, without a doubt. Since the dawn of iTunes, Apple has been able to improve their music streaming service to the point now that, Apple Music is just great. I know a lot of people do use Spotify, but if you're an Apple user, chances are most likely you have Apple Music. It just works. It's nicely integrated into the Apple ecosystem. The fact that you can have it on all your Apple devices. It has the best CarPlay integration. I'm not really a fan of the UI on the Mac. I don't know why. I just don't really like it as much as I do on iOS and on CarPlay. I find the Mac UI better on Tidal and Qobuz for some reason. In terms of like convenience, Apple Music is by far the best. It just works compared to the other two. Now, second place, I'll put Tidal. Tidal has a good UI, pretty much the same across all platforms, whether you're using your web player, you have a desktop app on the Mac or on iOS. It's a good user interface, but it doesn't have the features like Apple Music does. Like I said, it doesn't have an EQ. Also, Tidal does not have a karaoke mode. So if you're someone who likes karaoke, you might, enjoy that feature on Apple Music. And in terms of search algorithms, I found Apple Music to be the best. It just works better than the other two. Whichever song I'm looking for, Apple Music just knows, based on the song name, that this is the most likely the song that I'm looking for from this artist based on the popularity. Tidal and Qobuz struggle with that. I don't know why. They just don't have really the best search algorithms. Sometimes I struggle to find the songs I'm looking for on these two platforms. But other than that, Tidal is decent, it's good, it works as well. Apple CarPlay integration Tidal is great. I like that it has all the features as well. Sometimes it can glitch, rarely, like out of 100 times, maybe 10 times it might glitch compared to Apple Music, which might only happen once. Third place, without a doubt, is Qobuz. The app is okay, but I'm not really a fan of the UI. It just takes some getting used to navigating around it and looking for finding your playlists or your albums or your tracks. Not the easiest to use compared to Apple Music or Tidal. And CarPlay integration is by far the worst on Qobuz. You have no features whatsoever, no shuffle playback, nothing of that, and no Siri integration as well. I did actually write feedback to Qobuz support in relation to CarPlay integration, hoping that they would add these features in the next update. And they actually did respond saying, yeah, we'll do it, but fingers crossed. But yeah, Qobuz really lags behind in terms of UI and just user experience in general. Also, in terms of recommendation algorithms, I found that Apple Music seems to be the better one out of the three. It just suits to my music taste better than the other two. Qobuz, I found that it doesn't really recommend music to your taste. Instead, it recommends to what other people enjoy on Qobuz, to all the users, or what's the hottest, newest album. To be honest, I don't really use that. I just like to listen to the music that I have on my library and my playlists, and that's it. But if you do care about that, Apple Music is the better one out of the three. And finally, we moving over to sound. That's where Qobuz and Tidal shine compared to Apple Music. Since both of these use FLAC codecs compared to Apple's ALAC, FLAC just sounds richer, it provides more detail. Some songs are actually louder compared to ALAC on Apple Music. Now, all three platforms can play up to 24-bit 192 kHz audio, but I just found that FLAC high-res lossless sounds better than ALAC. If you are going to be listening to music that is 16-bit, you're not going to be able to tell the difference. You have to listen to music in high-res lossless to notice the difference. And when you hear the difference, it's not great, but if you're a semi-audiophile or audiophile, you are going to appreciate that extra difference, that extra better audio quality that you get out of Tidal and Apple and Qobuz. They do both, have disadvantages, a fair amount of disadvantages compared to Apple Music that might still want to make people stick with Apple Music compared to the other two. I would say this, if you're an average consumer, get Apple Music, you'll be happy with it, especially if you're in an Apple ecosystem. Apple Music is just going to work great for you. Obviously, if you have an Android or Windows, that doesn't really matter. You might have Spotify and you might want to try out Qobuz or Tidal. I feel like if you're an audiophile or semi-audiophile, you're going to appreciate Tidal or Qobuz. Price-wise, I would say get Tidal. Don't bother with Qobuz unless you're really into that, owning the music, being able to buy the music. But really, the sound difference between Tidal and Qobuz is like almost minimal. They both sound great. I would say Qobuz just has a slight edge, but it's not that noticeable. So yeah, if you want great audio quality, get Tidal. But really, the best out of them all, without a doubt, is still Apple Music. That's my thoughts. Out of all of them, my favorite is probably Tidal. That's the one I use the most because I just appreciate the extra audio quality. But sometimes when I get fed up with the UI or stuff, and I just want simplicity, Apple Music is the best. That's been it, guys. Thank you for watching. I'll see you again in the next video.